Talking about Scott Bakula on how 9/11 changed Star Trek Enterprise and a possible Quantum Leap reboot. Shane?
Yeah, that's what caught my attention was the whole Quantum Leap reboot, because I know that it's been talked about to some degree that they've been wanting to basically reboot Quantum Leap for years, and they just couldn't do it. Apparently, it's been tossed around, owned by so many people. But what we learn in this article is that Scott Bakula has wanted to be a part of it. You know, he's been ready for a reboot for a long time, and
Right.
he goes on to talk to trekmovie.com. He did like a full interview, and it's always great getting a big interview with Scott Bakula because he really does give a lot of information. And in this article, he talks about it was actually done on Bob Saget's Here For You podcast, is where he did the thing, and he started talking about it. He talked about he was a really big fan of Trek before the job, and he felt he was really honored to be a part, to be the lead in the new series. And he loved the idea of the enlightened future of Star Trek, and he really wanted to be a part of that. But then he talked about how the show kind of got shaped by 9/11 happening.
Mm-hmm.
He said we were shooting then, and that eventually took over the direction of the show in terms of mirroring that event and casting it into the studio and painting it with a Star Trek brush. All of a sudden, we had the last 2.5 seasons were all basically finding the people that had attacked Earth and chasing them down, and where that led us in the universe. So I had never really thought of it in that way, that the last 2.5 seasons or so of Enterprise could mirror what was happening with 9/11 and the fact that we were looking for Al Qaeda and things like that.
Right.
Did you notice that?
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, and until I read this, I never really even considered it like that.
Right.
I knew there was like a silo that exploded in the first episode. I guess that could have been like imagery, but it didn't really fit for me. And the whole like Suliban thing, I guess those were technically like terrorists, but I don't know.
Right. And so, but what really caught me with this whole interview was they started to bring up Quantum Leap. And of course, Quantum Leap ran from 1989 to 1993. And it's where most of us got our first introduction to Scott Bakula as Dr. Sam Beckett. They talked about things heating up for a reboot. He said, I think we are definitely living in the reboot era. I think there's very significant conversations about it right now going on, but I don't know when it would be. I don't know who would have it. The rights were a mess for years, and I don't know if they've sorted it out completely yet. And that's really the biggest complication with bringing it back. He mentions keeping in touch with Don Belisario, who's the Quantum Leap creator, and also with his co-star Dean Stockwell. And I think that's important because they said if they bring back the series, they would bring back both Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell to be in the reboot.
Oh wow! Yeah, I don't know if you can do the reboot without Scott Bakula.
I mean, you can do a completely whole Quantum Leap and just reboot it. But if you want to continue the story, or you want something like that to happen, then you would need Scott Bakula back. And he's not too old to do it. We could get like this way older version of him,
Right.
Which would be cool. Last year, NBC's head of programming said he was considering Quantum Leap for a reboot on Peacock. So we know it's in the mix, and Peacock is looking for new material. They're kind of the, they have a lot of their shows and stuff, but they're kind of behind the 8 ball on new programming.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? Not just on new programming, but advertising their current new programming. Like, I'm a major fan of that TV show Psych. I'm not sure if you guys ever saw it, but
I haven't seen it.
It's a great show. In fact, Shane, you would probably love it. It's sort of like a police procedural, but it's not. It's about this. About this guy who is the son of a retired detective, and he's a little bit of a screw up. Can't really keep a job. Does a lot of random odd jobs. And but he has this skill for noticing things and being hyper observant, because growing up, his detective father, thinking that he was grooming him to be a cop, was teaching him how to be a detective since he was a kid, all through his teenage years, saying, like, observe that. He would walk into a room and be like, how many hats are in the room? Don't look. That kind of stuff. Teaching him how to be hyper observant, be a detective before he was even a teenager. And now, because of his personality, the guy obviously couldn't become a cop. He was just too much of a screw up, too much of a mature, whatever. And his buddy, who was the opposite of that, he's a straight man. He's very responsible, takes care of his dad. And one day they fall into a case, basically, because there are witnesses or something, and he's able to solve the case there on the spot because of his skills. And when they ask him how he did it, instead of being honest, he makes a joke and says I'm a psychic.
Oh.
And because the police captain is a lady that believes in that kind of thing, she randomly hires him to do cases. His dad hates it because his dad knows that it's not, because he's psychic. Huh. But yeah, the show went for like 8 seasons. Great show. A lot of good laughs. A lot of cool like mysteries and stuff. Think like Scooby-Doo for adults almost,
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Very cool. Nothing supernatural or anything like that. It was more like just detective work. But it was shrouded with this sort of immature guy. He ends up growing up a lot. And you grow with the character. It's a fantastic show. Well, Peacock did a psych movie. Like, original content. Here's a Psych the movie. Didn't tell anybody, apparently. It was so weird. I was just perusing Peacock, which I only got to watch, I believe, Parks and Rec and The Office or something, right?
Yeah.
And I saw a Psych the movie, Peacock original. And I'm like, how did I not know about this? When the service started, that movie was out there. And no one advertised it. It's so weird. I'm a super fan of this show, and I knew nothing about this whatsoever. So they're not doing a great job advertising the originals. That's for sure.
Totally agree. Last thing about this Quantum Leap story is Don Belisario, for years, he said, Bakula said that they both talked about it periodically. And he would always say, I can't write it without thinking about you and Dean Stockwell. So Scott Bakula said, well, just think about me and Dean and write your show and get it out there. So if you have an idea, just write it. I'm sure it'll be great. So the idea that they would all be together for this reboot is really ideal, I think.
I agree. And, maybe advertise it if you do put it on Peacock. Advertise it. Throw some banner ads out there, like a YouTube trailer. Maybe make a trailer. How about a trailer? There's no trailer for the Psych movie for some reason. So weird.
I think the streaming service for Peacock is an afterthought right now. I think
right.
I think they're the least all in of all of the services. And there's content that's going there, and you can get good content there, but it's not an easy streaming service to use.
Yeah.
And I just don't think they're there yet. They need to get there because they're going to get left behind if not.
Most of their content right now that is drawing customers is the back catalog. But dude, they have an impressive back catalog. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, right? Yeah. The Office, Parks and Rec. I mean, sure. a lot. My wife watches novellas on Peacock. I didn't even know that was a thing. Yeah. So yeah, their back catalog is outstanding. But yeah, you're right. I think you're right. It's probably more of a afterthought for them. Which with their catalog, it doesn't have to be an afterthought. It could be legit.
Huh.
All right. Okay. Enough about. Although I would love to see a Quantum Leap reboot, because I love the idea of Quantum Leap, and I love the show when I was younger, but I hate the quality right now. Ugh.
So does it really bother you that? See, I don't get it, and this is maybe something that I just don't.
So
understand.
Bad.
Why is it so hard? I mean, like you said before. The story, the acting, it's all there. Why does the quality of the picture need to be that great?
Because all I see is a blurry characters running through blurry pixelated cartoon graphics. It's very
Is
difficult.
that what you see? I don't see that. Yeah.
Dude, you know what? You know what though? To Quantum Leap's credit, their quality, the quality of that show, is so much better than Sliders. I don't know if it was because what network Sliders was on or what, but
Probably.
Sliders is so bad. It's not even like 480p. It's like I think it must have been bad quality even then.
It was sci-fi, bro.
Oh, it's
sci-fi
so
channel.
bad. The quality is so bad. I love Sliders. I can't do anything about it. Every time I try to watch it, I'm like, oh God, I can't do it.
Thanks for watching. To see the full conversation, become a member of the Popcast family. Use the link in the description below or go to our channel and click the join button. Select your tier and we'll see you at the next show.